My partner he's hit me.
Has he?
I'm covered in blood.
Every 60 seconds, 999 receives a call to a domestic incident. Many people believe it only happens to older women, but alarming statistics now show that girls aged 16 to 24 are just as likely to experience violence from their boyfriends.
A 20-year-old man has gone on trial in Winchester for the murder of his teenage girlfriend.
He strangled the 17-year-old from New Zealand in the bedroom of his house.
Constantly in the news, abuse within intimate relationships is often kept secret. I want to go behind the closed doors.
He's really kicked that hard, didn't he?
And speak to the now younger face of domestic violence.
You're so young, you're so lovely, like you don't want this.
I want to see the front line of protection and prevention.
Oh, that wound is deep.
I'll question the abusers.
And what's going on in your mind when you realise you've just smacked this girl straight in the face?
Discover how deep the issues surrounding domestic violence are.
Some people might think you're essentially picking him over your boy.
And ultimately find out if there's a way to stop the murders and violence.
Domestic violence generally does seem to be in the news a lot of the time. And I think what I find most fascinating personally is the idea that our younger crowd, our younger generation are the most vulnerable statistically. I think from a personal perspective, I probably will be able to relate to some of the girls on some level. When I was very young, I had a relationship with this guy who was a nightmare. He was very violent and very aggressive. I think initially when I first started entertaining him, his controlling behaviour and his fire, however stupid it sounds, was actually quite flattering as a young girl, because you think, oh my God, it's because he's so into me, and it's because he really fancies me and he doesn't want anyone else to have me. That's why he kicks off when I talk to another guy. That's why he tells me I look like a slag. All these things that are clearly very unhealthy just don't feel unhealthy when you're in it.
What did I tell you?
What do you mean?
I mean, you dressing like this.
Stop.
Do you really want people to think you're a little slut?
To try and get on top of this growing epidemic amongst teenagers, a huge TV and online campaign was launched to raise awareness about domestic violence.
You think you look good dressed like that?
Stop.
Well, you don't. You look disgusting.
The government was also forced to change the law. Physical violence, emotional, online and sexual abuse is now a crime for 16 and 17-year-olds.
Don't you love me?
Of course I love you. I just don't want to.
Come on, yes you do.
No,
Come on.
There are more girls finding themselves in abusive relationships than ever before, but nearly all of them don't want to talk about it.
This morning I'm up north. I can't be any more specific than that, just because it's very important that we keep the girls' whereabouts quite vague. They're still going through the abuse and the violence now. Off to go meet a chap called Phil, and essentially it's his job to just make their homes as safe as possible, so they do feel a bit more protected. But yeah, really keen to meet them all and try and really understand, what it's like having to live your life like this. How long have you been doing this, Phil?
Well, I've worked for SAFE for 15 years now.
Ah,
and
veteran.
We've been doing domestic violence stuff for about 10, 11 years now. Just specialised in that, so.
So there's a market for it, obviously.
Oh, it's a massive problem, and that, you wouldn't believe. Until you really know, or you're amongst it, you don't realise how big a problem it is,
Might have to just turn that off for the minute, just because I don't want to freak her out with the camera, and it's important. You guys have no idea where we are.
Today, Phil's responding to a door that's been smashed up by an angry boyfriend.
He's really kicked that hard, didn't he? Because he's took the frame off.
Yeah, I can see from here it's being kicked in some time before, whenever that may be. There wouldn't be a straight edge there unless that was a different piece of wood that's gone in, like, you know, so...
This door's been kicked in more than once.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, I'll leave you to it, will I, Phil?
Great.
I might just go and have a quick chat.
I'm just going to have a quick look around
Cool.
and finish up my job properly.
This 19-year-old is still at risk of being physically attacked by her boyfriend.
I haven't even bothered putting mascara on, I just don't see the point.
You look lovely. When I'm 7 months pregnant, 6 months pregnant, I know I won't look like you. I feel. Yeah.
Her abuser is due in court. He's dangerous and we need to hide her identity.
When did the door get kicked in, hon?
Saturday.
Saturday. So what are we on today? Thursday?
Yeah.
You alright?
I will be.
What happened on the Saturday?
We had an argument the night before and he's come here because I've ignored the phone, and so he's come and got me.
And when you say come and got you, what do you mean?
Being very aggressive.
Beat you?
Yep.
When you're carrying his baby?
Yeah.
Sammy explains it all started a week ago at her boyfriend's flat. She wasn't ready to go out to dinner and it resulted in a violent beating. Sammy was then held against her will to ensure she didn't seek medical help and the authorities getting involved. She eventually escaped and came back to her own flat.
So when he came round, kicked the door in, he got arrested.
Yeah.
Did you call the police?
No.
Neighbours?
I mean, obviously, I'm not happy the way it's happened. I'm not happy that they come and took him away and my door got booted in, and it needed to be this way. It doesn't make me happy.
Where's your mum? Does she know what's going on?
She doesn't know how to help me. My nan and my auntie and my dad are pushed them away.
What's your plan? What are you thinking?
Obviously, he's going to court on Monday, and then if she pleads not guilty, then it'll go to trial.
And has he been to court before because of what he's done to you?
No. I've never had him arrested before. He's never been arrested because of me before.
How violent does he get? Tell me.
He's put me unconscious before. Smashed me over the head with a dog collar, split my head open. I had blood all over me, all over my face, all over my clothes. If I look at someone or smile at someone when they're walking past, that'll cause it. He's more worse when he's had a drink.
It's worse when he's drunk.
Yeah, you just wait for it to end. Waiting for it to stop. See it in his eyes. His eyes change. I think he's the only person that scares me.
But Sammy's even more scared that her baby may be taken away.
Just don't want to go to court.
You don't want to go to court?
No, I've got no choice to do what I'm doing now. I'll take the baby away.
They'll take the baby away, that's what you're worried about?
I need to keep him safe. I'm not safe with him. And the baby's not safe with him. He's threatened to take the baby away. Threatened to kill the baby. He's sick.
I just cannot believe what that young girl's been through. You know, she's just sat on the sofa, heavily pregnant, shaking her head because she just cannot believe that she's found herself in this horrifically violent situation. And the fella that's doing it to her is the guy that got her pregnant. You know, the guy that's supposed to love her. I don't know how on earth guys like that can ever justify it to themselves. It's just horrific. It's just so
So awful.
Someone picks up the phone to the police about a domestic incident every 30 seconds.
It's absolutely, just kicked off.
And during holidays and major sporting events, those calls rise significantly. Many criticise the police for not taking this crime seriously enough, so I'm going to spend a couple of days with the Lancashire force.
Hello. Nice to meet you.
Really nice, thank you so much for having me.
You're very welcome.
Really appreciate it.
About to start the briefing.
Last year, Lancashire dealt with over 9,000 calls to domestic incidents, and this year they estimate it's likely to be more. So domestic violence is a normal thing that you have to contend with?
Yes, we attend jobs on a daily basis, whether it just be a verbal argument, whether it's an assault or a lot more serious, but we deal with some form per shift, I would say.
Every single day?
It is a good percentage of police officers' times, regardless of where they are. I would suggest anywhere in the country, it does take a big piece of their time up.
God, no, I don't envy you guys. It's such a difficult job. You're going into these hostile, frightening situations where you don't know how violent they're going to be. So it's tricky.
It's difficult for the officers because obviously they turn up often to a kind of really dynamic situation, and they have to very quickly try and ascertain what's going on, who's right, who's wrong, and then we have to risk assess what we next do. People assume that we always arrest. We don't. There are a number of ways we can deal with domestic violence, and we use the appropriate tool or measure that suits that individual circumstance. We don't use a blanket approach.
Within the hour, we have our first call out.
Car 6.
Okay, would you be able to make over to a grade 1 domestic?
Yeah, pass us details.
Third-hand report from a female's mother. Apparently their partner is having a go at her. She's with her 4 young children and will be pushing a pram.
Yeah, heading out.
Here we go. And so, do we know whether or not the girls left the house to try and get away from him with the kids?
We really don't know.
Okay. So, I'll just stay out the way.
What's happened?
Me and my husband have split up because I wouldn't go back with him. He's kicked on. He snatched the little boy out of the pram. There was in the pram here. I went, yeah, I know there is kids, but I wouldn't let him take him back because he'd made threats to kill himself.
Was he self-harmed in the past?
No. He was saying it to get me to take pity on him and say, okay, I won't leave, I'll come back and things. And it's a very volatile relationship. I don't want to be in the relationship. I'm struggling to stay away.
Okay. Has he touched you in any way?
No, he hasn't, no.
Right, my main concern is your child right now, okay? Are you going to stay here?
If I have to, because if he's not there, then he'll be at my house waiting for me to get home, so I'm scared to go home.
All right, we'll sort it.
After 20 minutes, Rachel has managed to calm the mum of 4 down and reassures her she'll soon have her baby home. Dearie me. You all right?
Yes. The child is going to be returned to mother. I'm going to put her in as a medium risk and hopefully she'll draw up some sort of custody agreement, because we're not wanting to stop him seeing his kids, but it's just so hard when children are being pulled and snatched and all sorts and getting involved. It's just not fair. They shouldn't be witnessing it.
1 in 4 women in the UK will suffer domestic violence in their lifetime. So that could mean there's an abusive relationship going on down every street. For some, the only option of staying alive is to run away. Okay, so right now I'm en route to spend some time in a refuge. This is obviously a safe place that you can visit and you can go and spend time if you've experienced some form of abuse or you're going through the violence now. But the most important thing fundamentally is that these guys cannot find out where these girls are staying, so the location has to be kept secret. And I think this is us now, actually.
Hello, Stacey. Welcome to Eden Sanctuary.
Ever so much.
Do come in.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's lovely to see you.
Kathy started up this refuge after suffering domestic violence herself and now runs 3 more just like it in the surrounding area.
Molly's come through. It is safe. It needs to be safe.
Thank you. How important, in your opinion, is it that these kinds of places exist?
It's absolutely vital, because without the safety net, women are at risk. 2 women a week die in this country as a result of domestic abuse. We had a woman who was told information about her partner and the seriousness of staying with him, but she chose to carry on with the relationship, and he stabbed her to death. So, that could happen to any of the women who come to us. So sometimes the only option is to move away and to start a new life, and we can help with all of that.
Kathy tells me how those coming to the refuge are terrified and in fear for their lives. She and her small team help over 210 girls, many still in their teens.
Is it Jackie? Oh, hi. Jackie, how do you do? I'm Stacey.
Oh, lovely to meet you.
Likewise, very nice to meet you.
Jackie supports a young woman who at 16 found herself in a violent relationship.
I'm here today with my lovely young lady here, Melissa, who's agreed to let you oversee our chat.
Amazing, and thank you so much. I really do appreciate it.
Okay.
Now 26, Melissa's left her vicious husband, but she's still in immediate danger. For this reason, we've disguised her identity.
You met this lad when you were 16?
Yeah.
And up until that point, life had been quite crazy?
I was in care, yeah.
It was quite chaotic. So you meet this guy, and he was first violent fairly quickly?
Yeah, pushing, prodding, spitting, poking, pulling your hair, being verbally abusive. That's how it started.
It's like you say, you'd never had a relationship quite like that in the past, so you didn't have anything to compare
That's my
it
first
to
relationship, yeah. It was the first consistent thing I had in my life. He provided and showed me what I thought was love at that time. With me, I never had any guidance on how you're supposed to look for a proper man. Warning signs, he'd call me 50 times a day, and I just used to think, he really loves me, do you know what I mean?
So when did you think, hang on, maybe this isn't the norm, maybe this isn't what happens to everyone that's got a boyfriend?
I should have had alarm bells ringing from the word go, really, do you know what I mean? Just on the amount of times he'd want to hear off me. It's like I couldn't go to work, or if I did go to work, it'd be, where have you been, what have you been doing, let me check your underwear.
In the fear that you've been out shagging, you've been having sex at work?
Yeah.
So he's checking your knickers?
Yeah, he'd want to know what I'd put on in the day, in the morning, and he'd want to see that I'd still had them on when I come home.
Well, that's...
Yeah.
Melissa then tells me about the countless times of abuse she'd endured.
One time he'd set my hair on fire, lighting a cigarette off the cooker, and he smashed my head off it and held it down. And then I had to see my kids the next day looking like that.
When I first started learning about these situations, your heart goes out initially to the person who's been abused, the victim, but you don't necessarily understand that the kids are equally hurt.
Children won't go to school because they're in fear of what they're going to find when they come home. They genuinely will sit up all night. Nightmares, nausea, become withdrawn. They have sickness, diarrhoea, eating disorders, they self-harm themselves, then go to drugs. They could become the perpetrator. There's a whole new kettle of fish that comes from a child being brought up in a violent relationship.
Am I right in thinking that if you're somebody who's been abused and you're in a very vulnerable situation because, you know, your ex or your current partner is beating you, is that enough for social services and people of authority to come in and say, we're able to take your kids off you because you are vulnerable and therefore that makes them vulnerable?
Safeguarding children has to be of paramount importance.
Yeah.
And I think if they know of a domestic violence relationship going on and it doesn't get resolved and they're called out continually, then they have to put the children first.
Jackie's been supporting Melissa for more than 3 years to try and get her kids out of long-term foster care.
She gets a bit involved, Jackie does.
Oh, yeah. I've been going over
Who could
my
do this
way.
job
and
not be involved?
Thank you.
The effects of an abusive relationship can be far-reaching, especially for mothers who are at risk of losing their children. I then go to meet 18-year-old Chloe, who we can't identify because she was savagely beaten by her boyfriend and is in great danger.
I think the rooms are quite nice. What do you reckon?
Yeah, they are nice. This is my room.
They have a very young baby together and her partner is currently in prison.
It is tidy, I'm impressed. And you've got an ensuite.
Yeah.
Not all the rooms have that, do they? And this is your baby?
Yeah.
Oh, isn't he lovely?
He's bigger than that now.
Is he?
Yeah.
He's beautiful. And is he with social services at the minute?
Yeah. Like in foster placement, but the foster care was really nice.
That's good.
Yeah.
And what's the plan? Do you reckon you'll ever be allowed him back? Is that the goal, or?
But I don't think there's a chance now.
Why?
Because it's gone too far within the courts and that. But they said my parenting skills are fine and that, so that's good.
Sure
That's something, yeah.
You're really lovely. I'm sure you're great with him.
They said it's just a shame for the domestic violence and that, to have him taken away.
Some of the ladies who work here were telling me that sometimes if mum has taken steps to try and distance herself from the perpetrator, there's more chance of you being able to keep your baby.
Yeah, that's true. So I've been finding it hard to part away from it. Cause I've been with him for so long, but other women have been with theirs for so long, but I don't know.
Some people watching this might think, you know, you're lovely and you're amazing and you're all these great things. But by continuing the relationship with this man who is abusive, you're essentially picking him over your boy.
Yeah.
Can you see how?
Yeah. That's what people are going to be thinking, but I'm not.
Are you not?
No. I've tried my best for him, but it's just gone too far now.
Oh!
Oh no.
What have I done?
Set the alarm off. The woman set the alarm off, it's fine.
Sorry, is that the panic alarm?
Yeah.
Brilliant, I've just pressed the panic alarm with my big fat back. Sorry. Well, I better leave you to it. All right, hon, thank you for talking to me.
It's okay.
Thank you.
Bye. See you later, bye.
Most people in danger don't seek help. In fact, girls and boys who suffer domestic violence are often abused many times before they pick up the phone. But there is an organisation that can help keep violent partners away.
National Centre for Domestic Violence, how can I help?
He pushed you with both of his hands. He bit you.
What did he go to prison for? Was it for hurting you? For beating you?
I'm here at the National Centre for Domestic Violence to spend the day with Mark Groves. His 30-strong team of law students take the phone calls from those currently going through abusive relationships.
Pulled your hair, punched you and kicked you.
NCDV gives some power back to the victim in the form of an injunction.
An injunction is something that we've all heard of, but what is it exactly? What does it do?
An injunction is a court order that tells somebody not to do something that they shouldn't be doing.
So essentially it's saying, you know, you can no longer hit this person that you've been abusing. Don't go near her, don't go near him.
You're absolutely right. And if you do, you can go to jail for 5 years and get a criminal record.
So when did he threaten you with a knife?
Over 7,000 orders were served on alleged abusive people in England alone last year.
Was he ever controlling towards you? So he'd threaten you over text?
Not only does the hitting stop, but the abusers can't phone, text or use social media to make contact with their partners. Mark allows me to sit in with the lawyer as she takes a statement from a young girl.
Suzanne from the National Centre for Domestic Violence. Just to recap what I've got already, he was threatening you.
Slice my throat.
Did you say slice your throat? Okay. I understand that this is very, very difficult, but you're taking one step, you know, forward, and you know you're going to get your life turned around. Okay? If you need to take a break or have some water, yeah.
These phone calls
on the
they're
first
taking
instant,
all of the time, day
when
in,
you got
day
home,
in, over and over and over again.
So did you try to commit suicide? In the hope that you would, that you'd die? And you obviously landed on the road, and then what happened? Sorry to interrupt, did you think he was coming back to check on you to make sure you were all right? So he began beating you again?
So he'd tell you that your days were numbered and he'd kick the door down?
The most recent incident when he threatened you with a knife was on Wednesday.
How do you stay so focused and stay so professional? Because it's harrowing, some of the things that you're hearing.
Is, but the only way things are going to get better is by us, doing the statement, getting them to court, because we can't change their lives. Only a judge can.
And she was young, started when she was 19.
I know.
Is that quite fairly typical?
Yeah, it's quite. I mean, we're seeing more and more young people, definitely.
Why do you think that is? Why?
Maybe because they don't work sometimes, and if they're both unemployed, they've got more time to spend with one another, and arguments happen if there's no money or drugs or things like that, and younger people are falling in love quicker and trusting so easily. So.
I wonder how hard it must be to pick up the phone and, say I need an injunction on someone even though I'm still madly in love with him.
It's brave, isn't it? It really is brave.
Do you know, I'm really pleased that I came today, actually. I didn't really know what to expect. I knew there'd be operators and I knew that they'd be taking the calls, but I underestimated how many calls. There's nearly 100 every single day. And for them to let me sit in and listen was just such a privilege, because I heard firsthand for myself how many young people are of the thought that this kind of violent, abusive, unhealthy relationship is normal. This year, the number of injunctions is expected to rise to over 8,000. I'm now going to face the alleged abusers myself by joining Brian Keating, who's serving out the orders in South London. So this is your job? This is what you do on a daily basis?
This is what I do 7 days a week, 52 weeks of the year.
Gosh. And it's your job to give out the injunctions?
Yes, it's my job to find the people and give them the necessary paperwork. So he doesn't know it's coming, he doesn't know this has been sworn in front of a judge, and he doesn't know it's been stamped and it's all legal.
I bet they're not always pleased to see you, though. Do you get nervous? Do you get butterflies? Or
Yeah.
do you try and stay quite calm?
Yeah, I do get nervous because you don't know what's opening the door. I've had 6'10", 25-stone guy standing over me saying, I don't want this paperwork.
And that's the thing, if they frighten you, imagine how much they may have frightened the girl. According to the witness statement, our first injunction is for a man who's apparently beaten up his girlfriend, causing head bruises and a swollen cheekbone. He's due in court on another matter, so we meet him on the steps.
I've got some papers for you, yeah?
What's your name?
That's yourself.
What are you? Sorry,
I work for the court.
What is all this about?
It's part of
my
the job.
girlfriend, yeah.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Listen, let me explain the paperwork.
Yeah.
The first part is the order,
Right.
and that's the legal part, and that's the bit you need to follow. Don't breach that, otherwise
What do you mean? I'm not allowed near the house and whatever they tell me. How far have I got to stay away, do you know?
I don't know, I don't read it. It's predominantly 100 metres.
Why do you think she's taken out this injunction?
We've had a domestic. I've pulled her hand back to get her phone. She's phoning. She's pulling, I'm pulling, she's pulling, I'm pulling.
So are you saying that's
Well,
all that's ever happened between you two,
Yeah,
just pulling
yeah,
over a bag?
yeah.
You've never hit her?
No, and the police have never been called to my house. I'm not known to the police, she's not known to the police.
Right.
You can ask the neighbours.
Have you ever been abusive or violent?
No.
No. This guy seems adamant that his partner is making it up. But the order can be contested in front of a judge who can then lift the injunction. Is that often the case, Brian? They'll say, I don't know why she's took out this injunction, it wasn't necessary.
Yeah. The first port of call is, I've done nothing wrong. Huh?
Yeah.
You remind them of it a little bit, and then they spill the beans, and
That's
it all comes out.
On to the next one.
We've got time for a coffee and a natter, and then we leave here about 25 past.
Right, you are. That law's come in now to play, hasn't it? Claire's law.
Claire's law.
Yeah, so you're entitled as a woman to know whether or not the guy you're seeing has a history of being violent.
Yeah, and of course men have got the rights about women, because women are violent as well.
Yeah.
I've served plenty of violent women.
And that's important to remember, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, it's not just a one-way street. There's guys out there that can't cope.
And I feel for men as well, because I think there is this stigma attached to men that are, you know, having to deal with the abuse. It can be a bit embarrassing, or it can be a bit awkward to admit that it's going on. But a violent woman's just as bad as a violent man. Can I have a look at the statement? Is that all right?
Yeah?
And he's quite young, this lad, isn't he? He's in his 20s.
Correct.
It's crazy. The respondent even dragged me to get me to shut up. And he strangled me again. When our little girl was in the house. Yeah, it's...
Not good, is it?
This is what happens. It starts with arguing, then there'll be a little push, a slap, a punch.
One of them sees red and it gets out of hand.
So right now, Brian and I are en route to go meet this younger guy. He is quite nervous. He's rang Brian saying, look, please assure me that you're not going to arrest me, you're not going to be bringing the police. So we've arranged to meet him at a train station. It's a bit more public, but yeah, definitely keen to see his reaction. Happy?
Yeah. Keep your eyes peeled. We're looking for this guy here.
We've got a little bit of butterflies. Excuse me, is this the only entrance?
Yeah, for Southwark.
Okay, thanks so much. Yeah. I'm just thinking, if I was being handed an injunction, I'd prefer it to be at my home. On the street, I'd feel a bit embarrassed.
Well, the thing is, nobody knows what I'm handing him. It's only between me and him, and he doesn't want his address divulged.
Yeah, here he is. Hello. Hi.
Yeah, hey, pleased to meet you.
Hi, I'm Stacey.
This is Stacey. Let me just explain something first. That's yourself?
Yes.
Should we go and stand over there and talk while it's quiet? Yeah, it's all right.
In the statement, she says that you've been very violent and you've been abusive.
I wasn't violent. I got my daughter in there. She was there. She can be my witness as well.
Right.
Because I didn't hurt her that day.
Okay, so you're saying that's untrue?
That's untrue. Maybe I said something, you know,
verbally,
verbally, but I didn't hurt her.
Why do you think she's lied? If you say that you haven't done these things, why would she lie?
It started when I found out that she's communicating with, you know, guys.
Right.
And it's kind of cheating, you know.
Right.
I don't know if they meet up already.
Right. So she was messaging another guy, and that obviously hurt you.
It did.
But why do you think she's saying that you've been physically violent if you promise me you haven't?
I haven't.
No, I understand you're saying that, but why is she lying?
I don't know.
So in your minds, you're completely confused as to why she's saying all of this?
Of course, I'm confused.
But you never hit her?
I never. I will never do that.
Okay. Spending time with Brian's actually been quite fascinating, in the sense that I found it quite confusing, personally. You know, we were approaching these alleged perpetrators, and I think I had in my mind that we were going to come up against quite frightening characters, and actually it was the complete opposite. They were quite pleasant, fairly polite, really accommodating. I think the thing to remember is that these guys aren't always a nightmare. They aren't always violent or scary. You know, sometimes they can be really lovely, and that's what the girl falls for.
Later, I find out that the orders served by Brian were not contested. I'm heading back to see 19-year-old Sammy, who last week was beaten up by her boyfriend.
Do you want sugar?
2.5, please.
2.5?
Yeah.
Love no teeth.
Today is due in court to plead guilty or not guilty to criminal damage and 2 counts of assault. I'm going to keep Sammy company as she waits to hear what he's pleaded.
So what's like best case scenario for you, would you reckon?
he admits it and deals with the consequences.
And if his solicitor tells him to plead not guilty?
I really hope it won't come to that.
You don't want to go to court?
No. I can't imagine it.
I bet.
Because I wouldn't want to get upset. Obviously, it's upsetting to talk about. Sometimes it's like, I get a big ball in your throat and you're like, oh, I don't want to talk about this anymore. I don't want to explain this. There's some things that you just can't say because it hurts.
I feel for Sammy. She's 7 months pregnant and it's clear she's still in love with her boyfriend.
That was the first ever night.
That was the first night he ever hit you?
Yeah.
With the dog collar? Look how happy, but you both look really happy here. He's not anything like I was imagining. And he's really smiley. That's insane. So up until this point, he'd never hit you, he'd never hurt you.
No.
And when you look at pictures of him, do you think, oh,
I haven't done it this week. I'd be torturing myself if I did. I still refuse to delete them though.
oh my God, is that him?
Yeah.
That's him.
I feel sick now.
Are you okay?
Yeah.
She's just on the phone to him now, but I don't know the ins and outs of what she's saying, but she's crying. We should have just let that missed call stay there.
It's not great news for Sammy. He hasn't pleaded guilty. There's going to be a trial.
Good.
Yeah, not a great afternoon, obviously for Sammy, but I think it just really highlights, A, how difficult it can be to get these perpetrators into court in the first place, and B, how rare it can sometimes be to find that the victim or the person who's been abused feels confident enough and strong enough to stand up and say, yeah, this is what's been happening and I want justice. According to the Home Office, the most common reoffenders are perpetrators of domestic violence. But what makes these men resort to using such extreme violence towards a girl?
Okay, so this morning I'm going to be spending some time with the Everyman Project, which is this building here, and I think the idea is that they try and rehabilitate the perpetrators themselves. So yeah, really, really interested to see what that involves. Hello, is it Russell?
Hey there.
How do you do? Very nice to meet you. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Russell is one of the counsellors who for over 10 years has worked with some very violent men, trying to alter their behaviour.
Give me an idea of what kinds of men are approaching you.
Thinking about guys that have finished the group recently, we had a lawyer that used to make a lot of money, and then we have men that are, you know, currently unemployed. Any man can have an issue with their anger.
What makes you have the potential to be an abuser?
Stuff that we see again and again are jealousy, insecurities, you know, guys unable to deal with these emotions, and you know, during the counselling we ask them to sit with some uncomfortable feelings, because anger is a very powerful emotion, and whilst being angry you're not feeling other stuff, the bad stuff.
For me it's really interesting because if I'm sitting with the girl who's been abused. I really dislike the guy that they're talking about, but then I have to distance myself and I have to think, well, you know, why is this guy behaving in the way he is? In your professional opinion, how much of it is learnt behaviour? How much of it is someone just being an arsehole? How much of it is his fault?
Part of the work that we do here is looking at the man's history. You know, if a man has suffered abuse when he was a child or something like that, we're not looking for excuses, but we're looking for what's kind of led them down this road.
Can anyone who has been abusive or is a perpetrator be rehabilitated?
I have to say yes, really. People can choose to behave differently if they really want to.
9 out of 10 domestic attacks are carried out by men. Last year, the Every Man Project received over 500 calls from men wanting counselling, but because of funding cuts, could only help 100. None of Russell's clients were willing to come forward and talk to me, but I tracked down a young man who's currently on another programme and is prepared to meet up.
Hey, how's it going? Nice to see you. You well?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Sadiq, who doesn't want to be identified, once had a career in music and still has a studio in his attic.
Oh, wow. Yeah, this is nice, no?
Before his rehabilitation, he used to get really aggressive.
Tell me a bit about what's gone on with you. What would anger you? What would push your buttons?
I would say another guy texting my girl and I can see that they've got ulterior motives behind what they're doing. I wasn't too happy with that.
Was jealousy an issue for you?
I never saw myself as a jealous person. I would say it was more of me being insecure.
Right.
And some of the women will play up on that, you know, and just drill away until, you know, I get angry.
You say, like, you know, you get this feeling of anger. What do you do when that kicks in?
My heart starts beating and then it will go into me starting to say things on impulse.
What, you're a slag, you're a hoe, like...
Yeah, them kind of things.
And does it ever get physical?
There has been one relationship that I've been in where it has got physical, but it was on both parties. She grabbed hold of my testicles. Yeah.
What, like viciously?
Yeah, I slapped her hand away, but as I slapped her hand away, you know, I've hit her face.
Be completely honest with me. Did you hit her face deliberately because you were just so angry with what she'd done?
I would say the first one would have been to get her hand away from my testicles. I hit her the second time for her not to come back to me again.
And what's going on in your mind when you realise you've just smacked this girl straight in the face?
Well, one part of me was like, you know, serves you right. But on the other hand of me, I do feel guilty, even up until this day. I think about it and who knows, you know, it could have been worse than that. One of us could have lost our life.
It was that chaotic. It was that mad, that relationship.
Yeah.
So where are you now? Like, are you still angry?
I'm still angry, but I'm allowed to get angry. Everybody's allowed to get angry. It's how you deal with that anger.
Yeah.
I never want to get back to how I was. I'm a changed man and I like how I am now.
That's the thing, isn't it? You know, however disgusting I think your behaviour was, you know, I do think it's really impressive that you've asked for help and, you know, you're continuing to go to these classes, because a lot of guys who are violent would never entertain that in a million years.
I just want to send a message out to other men who think it's acceptable to have that behaviour, that it's not.
Hey boo, what's wrong with you? Why you standing there with a long face and a screw? Hey boo.
I'm back with the Lancashire Police and it's a Saturday night. The first thing I'm greeted with is the evidence of a 20-year-old girl who last night smashed a glass over her boyfriend's head.
Oh, that was last night. That's deep. That wound is deep. That's making me feel a bit funny, actually. That's really deep, isn't it? The idea that this 20-year-old girl has had to do with the fella and her response, naturally, is to throw a glass over his head and seriously injure him. I mean, that wound is mega deep. It's just so frightening. You know, we've all done it. We've all got drunk. We've all had arguments, but it's what's making these young people take it to this level and use violence so freely. It's sad and it's scary. Then the blue lights are back on and I'm off to what sounds like another incident by a female. So Rachel, where are we off to now?
Call just received from husband to say wife is throwing his clothes out the house.
So that's interesting. The guys made the call.
He has, yes. But again, what they say on the phone and what they tell you when you get down can be totally different.
He's out in his bare feet. The phone call did turn out to be misleading. Rachel and I arrive at a posh address to find the husband drunk on the street and his young wife trying to prevent another beating. Understandably, she didn't want to be filmed. It's unbelievable. So we've just left that lady's house and you've just had another call saying we've got to go and see this 17-year-old. Yeah, she's got to go and give a statement. It's just constant. It's constant.
How old are you, Keely? Okay, and if you can just briefly describe what's happened.
Early hours of Friday morning, he's had another argument with me and ended up punching me in the face.
Okay, can I just have a look at your...
Quite a nasty one, isn't it?
How old is he?
23.
23, he's quite a bit older than you. Has he contacted you since?
I had a message off him telling me that he was the only one that cared about me, that he loved me, and that if I ever needed him, he was always here for me.
I've done that. Okay. So he doesn't know that we've got involved now. Okay.
Can I ask you, hun, how long were you seeing him before he first became violent?
The first time he pulled my hair was around a month and a half into the relationship, and then he kicked me in my ribs about 2, maybe 3 weeks after that, and then he's done this on Friday.
Are you okay with that? How are you feeling now we're here?
I don't know, I have been a bit bothered about it, but...
What's your main concern?
Because he's told me that he's going to go to jail.
Why should that worry you?
I don't know.
Do you think he loved you and thought about you when he smacked you in the mouth, pulled your hair, kicked you in the ribs?
This never ends well. Like I know initially the first couple of months you think, oh, it's just one punch, it's just, you know, it's just one kick, it's only because he loves me, it's only because he's really into me, he gets jealous. But it just gets worse and worse. You're so young, you're so lovely, like you don't want this. With the statement signed, the police can now arrest Keely's boyfriend and she'll wait to see if she has to go to court. The night shift's ending and I've seen how difficult a job it is, but this is way too big for the police alone to sort. Before I finish my investigation, I want to question someone who has the power to make a difference. Theresa May is the Home Secretary. Hello. How do you do?
Good to meet you.
So I'm here in the Home Office press room to try and get some answers. Pleasure. Really appreciate it. I know you're extremely busy. Theresa, you're our most senior female politician. How important is this to you personally?
Oh, this is a really important issue to me, and too many people are suffering as a result of domestic violence and abuse.
But funding is being reduced. You know, the amount of money that these refugees that we have in this country receive is being cut. And I remember reading somewhere that actually we have more refuges for animals than we do for our own women. So fundamentally, you know, if you're a cat or a dog in this country, you've got more chance of being rescued. How can you justify that when these safe houses are just so vital?
The money that goes to the refugees is given at local council level. Now, I've talked to local councils, I've said to them, you've got to recognise this is an important area for you, you've got to recognise this is a priority. But it's not just the refugees that can make a huge difference. Recently I visited Berkshire Women's Aid. I was talking with them about some of the programmes they've got. Really interesting programme with perpetrators.
Yes, I wanted to talk to you about this because their funding's being cut also. We've got these guys who have recognised that what they're doing is totally uncalled for. You know, they're trying to seek help and even that's fairly limited.
Well, there have been a number of attempts at perpetrator programmes. Not all of them have been successful. So this is an area where there's still a lot of work being done to determine what does work with perpetrators.
A couple of the girls that I've spoken to have been vulnerable, and the more I go on to learn, it does seem apparent that there's a cycle. How are we going to break that cycle?
Well, it's difficult. It's certainly the case that if you look at people who are perpetrating domestic violence, a good number of those will have come from a home where there was domestic violence. But of course it's by no means everybody who's seen domestic violence in the home then goes on to be a perpetrator themselves. How do we break the cycle? I think it's about the cultural issue. It's about saying this is wrong and showing perhaps to young people, particularly to young people.
Where does this need to happen? I mean, does it not need to be part of our national curriculum? I think it does. As an outsider, as a normal person, I think it's key that we're having these conversations with our kids.
There is guidance available for schools, looking at issues like healthy relationships, like consent.
Should that not be mandatory, do you not think?
There's always a danger if you put everything as mandatory in the national curriculum.
But we're losing 2 women a week, so this is high up there.
It is high up there as an issue. But that's why the question is, what is it that is going to have the most impact? And that's why in the Home Office we've put a focus on working not within what you might see as formal structures, like schools, but actually working through advertising campaigns. And I think sometimes that sort of work can have more of an impact on somebody.
And very, 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 very last question. Have you got anything that you would like to say to these girls that we've spent time with over the past couple of months? You know, there's one that's 8 months pregnant, battered by a fella, another young girl in a refuge, a fella's in prison. What would you like to say to these girls?
I think the important thing for them is, first of all, that we recognise what they've been through and how terrible what they've been through is. Actually, I meet many people who have been the victims of domestic violence, but who then, with support, come through that and can go on and lead fantastic lives. And I would say to them, the rest of your life lies ahead of you.
And what will the rest of their lives be like for these girls? It's been months actually since I've spoken to any of the girls, but the one I'm most desperate to have a chat with is Sammy. You know, when we met she was in such a desperate situation, and now, you know, she'll have had the baby, and I'm keen to see how they're both getting on. She is. Sammy, how are you? You look amazing. Thank you. You look really well. So tell me, I don't know where to start, like I haven't seen you in so long. The last time I saw you, you were thinking about whether or not you were going to go to court.
Yeah.
Talk me through that.
We did go to court. The baby was 4 days old.
And he got sentenced?
He got community service and a fine.
And has he seen the baby?
He did at first, but not anymore. He smashed my window, come through my window with the baby in the house. It was like, no, you can't do this to me in front of my son. That's, no. He's not being brought up to think that's normal. No way.
And now I guess you're at the other end, aren't you? You've sort of been through it and you've come out.
I feel like I've been there, done that.
And it's finished?
Yeah, it's over.
Where has this strength come from? Because when I saw you last time, you were in bits.
Yeah.
You knew what you had to do, but you didn't have the strength, I don't think, to do it.
There was an incident not long ago with a girl that I knew, and her boyfriend attacked her and she died. Stabbed her in the neck. She had a little boy, and that kind of hit home. That could have been me. This time last year, that could have been me, leaving my little boy behind.
Anymore, you're not in that position now.
No.
Which is just so brilliant.
Yeah.
It's just so awesome.
And now I hear rumours that you've got a new man.
I have.
Nice lad?
Yeah.
Look at you blushing, you really like him?
Yeah, it makes me laugh, makes me smile.
Good, that's good. That's what they're meant to do.
Yeah. He respects me.
Isn't it funny how things can completely change? You know, where you were months ago to where you are now is just...
I remember it like yesterday. There was times where I thought it would forever be that way, and it'd never change, and it'd get worse, and I'd be like that every day. I used to watch documentaries myself on this, and it used to just, it made me believe that it could get better. And it's the only reason I'm standing here doing this with you now, is for other people in this situation. To say, you know what, it can get better, and you're not on your own, and you can do it.
Amazingly, Sammy's turned her life around by finally getting away from her violent partner. But she's just the tip of the iceberg of the growing number of younger girls finding themselves in unhealthy relationships. Can this ever change? This is Europe's biggest demonstration against male violence.
There's so many girls. A rapist is 100% responsible for rape. Together we can end male violence against women. So everyone campaigning today is a woman. Hello love, what's your name?
My name's Jenna.
Jenna. And how old are you, Jenna?
I'm 22.
22.
Yeah.
So and how important is it for you to personally be involved in something like this?
So important. It could be you, it could be your sister, it could be your mother. So this is really important, especially for the women that maybe out there that can't come out and march. We're marching for them.
I'm grateful to all the girls and guys I've spoken to who have been so brave and shared their experiences. The extent of domestic abuse amongst the young is undeniable. But if they can learn to spot the danger signs early on and are empowered to speak out, then maybe there is a way to stop the murders and violence.
Yes, and no, me too!
For details of organisations which offer advice and support, go online to bbc.co.uk/actionline or call the BBC Action Line to hear recorded information on 08000 680 133. Lines are open 24 hours and are free from most landlines. Some networks and mobile operators will charge.